Yeah, so the eye thing. Yeah, ow. It's not like an open wound or anything. And I thought I was gonna have an eye patch
Not an
because I thought
overweight.
it.
I think your exclamation of pain says otherwise.
Right. Okay. So let me explain what happened. So what he did was, or I thought he was gonna just like cut it off, and I was like, "This is dicey because it's right on my eyeball." So this is for those while looking. It's a skin tag on my eye. And he goes, "Oh, we're just gonna freeze it off." I'm like, "That sounds more dangerous near my eye."
Oh,
So
yeah.
he used like metal tweezers that he put under nitroglycerin or nitro, whatever this was called, and then he pinched it, and I was like, but no, and it's nothing, no numbing anything, and I was like, dude, that hurts. That's like that kind of stings a little bit, and I swear to, he just looks at me and goes, that means it's working. I was like, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I mean.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
I mean, it hurts, dickhead. So yeah, he said, yeah, it'll be there. It'll be there for like maybe another week, and then he said it'll go away.
It's just gonna like fall off, or
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Just gonna leave, just gonna go away.
Okay.
So yeah, but now since it was frozen and now it's like not frozen anymore, it stings when I touch it. But I touch my eyes so much, like you don't realize how much you touch your face until you're like you do it and you wince in pain when it happens.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, it's more pronounced. I feel like right now.
It's actually about half as big, but he did say it was gonna swell a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's maybe because you're now knowing that it's there. Because before it was like whatever, who cares?
I think I think the color's changing. I think that might be it. Because it's not like it's like growing. It's not like you have a growth on your eye. It's just like it's
Yeah.
noticeable. And I think there's a contrast.
Okay.
It's normally just kind of like blended into your eye, right? So it's just like kind
That's
of
true.
the same color. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, hold up. So you're gonna have to wear an eye patch at some point?
No, I mean I can, but I don't have to. Yeah, that's funny. That's what Lauren said. She was like, "I'm excited to see your new pirate life," and I'm like, "There's actually going to be no eye patch, so my apologies."
Yeah, man. I was gonna get you a hook and everything.
Ah, okay. I'm getting an eye patch. That would have been great.
Yeah, you just show up to the next podcast. Like,
Yarr. I know I can wear my gold hat that's up here, up on top of the bookshelf. My gold pirate hat.
Ooh, I have like a tricon up in the attic.
What the hell is a tricon?
You like the pirate hats? That's like the point here and it shoots out. It's like a square.
Why do you have that?
A pirate's life for me.
Okay. It's a pirate's life for David. Got it. Okay. Okay. So, okay. How many times have you dressed up as a pirate? I could see you dressing up as Captain Hook. That feels like
that's-
something you've done.
Quite a number of times, if I'm gonna be honest. You know, living in
Yeah.
living in San Francisco, there is a lot of events. So like Halloween,
A lot of opportunities.
yeah, a lot of times during Halloween. So several years. You know, and then there's the running. I want to call it the Running Man, but that's not it. The Beta Breakers.
Beta Breakers. You were Captain Hook?
I was Captain Hook. I was just a pirate, a salty swashbuckler, if you will.
Gotcha.
Scallywag, as some people like to call me. And then
That is such a crazy marathon that people do. The Beta Breakers, for anybody listening that doesn't live in the Bay Area, is it's the San Francisco Marathon where it's from the bay to the breakers, which is the ocean. It's where the ocean breaks. So you run, but it's like this all the way throughout the city. But San Francisco's not that big. It's only 7 by 7 miles. So it is, but it like weaves throughout the city, and then you go across the bridge and back and all that other stuff. So when you run that, but anybody that I know that's actually run it, they don't run it like a regular marathon. They dress up in costumes and then you just drink all day long. So it's people just walking straight across the city. You do the 7 miles, but you don't really do the 26. So
it's more of a drunken.
Did you run
across?
Did you
San
like
Francisco.
actually right? Yeah. Did you actually run the marathon like an actual?
No,
you
I
just
was
went.
tired. Drunk and stumbled.
Okay. I've seen a lot of people do that. What's funny is like there's so many police that are like monitoring this thing that are around, but I've known several people that have done this completely naked. Like they just have paint, like literally just rainbow paint on them. I mean, it's San Francisco, so you sort of expect that, but they were like, we don't care. I don't know.
That happens. Yeah, you get scarred. a couple times.
You get scarred. If you've been to any festivals in San Francisco, that's exactly what happens. Is like you just see naked people everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you said like one of your first times coming in San Francisco, right? You wound up in.
I was going because I was in a theater class, and they were like, "We're gonna go see a show in San Francisco at one of the theaters there," and so I went, but I went on BART. So it was like I was in high school, but I was like fresh out of Catholic school. And I remember I got off the BART train, and there was a guy who was completely naked. All he was wearing was angel wings and a condom. And I was like, what this feels really weird. And I was like fresh out of Catholic school going, this is not what I'm used to. All right, more power to you. So I like went over to the theater, wondering like, is that how people dress in the city?
And a few years later, Tom's like, I must live here.
I will live in this city. That's exactly how it went down.
Mr. Glitter Wings, you have inspired me.
If you're out there, Mr. Glitter Wings, you inspired me to live in San Francisco. That's exactly how it went. Yeah. What's the crazy one? Is it Folsom Street Fair?
Oh, yeah. I think,
it's like a bondage festival.
Yeah. I stumbled across that one by accident.
That one I was living in the city, so I was sort of already used to the craziness. But yeah, I stumbled into that one too, where I was just walking down the street to a friend's house, and I'm like, what is going on here? This is very different.
I was trying to go to Oktoberfest, actually. And Oktoberfest was in the Piers, but it's in the very, like, southern Piers. And so I lived up in the north, so I had to, like... I was like, I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, oh, yeah, the fastest route is just take the bus straight down, right?
Right.
So I'll go straight down, get stopped. I was like, why are we all stopped? It's all right. We got to walk the rest, I guess. It's not that far. So I'm like, I walked through, and I was like, oh my God. There was like a woman who was like tied up being whipped. Like, oh yeah. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just stumble into?
That would be nuts if you walked... Or if you were on the bus and then you just started seeing people in the black leather. Like, is that a gimp suit? I mean, I know this is San Francisco, but, you probably will. The first one or two, it wouldn't even register because it's just San Francisco's weird like that. Yeah. And then if you started to see the bus fill up, it was like, okay, something's going on.
Yeah. One is San Francisco. Two is like, oh, it's very San Francisco. Three, oh, something's going on.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Something must be happening. I'm on my way to this show right now. Yeah. I do remember. Oh my God! So there are these, and not. We don't have to keep talking about bondage, but there was this like. I had a friend that invited me to a party in San Francisco when I was in college, and I remember I went. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I went, and I was in this gold button down with slacks on, the nice shoes. And it ends up being that the friend was a performer. And I'm like, oh, cool. We'll watch this performer do her thing. She was an acrobat or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. So we go, we're dressed to the nines. And we show up, and everybody's in like Slipknot t-shirts and all black. And like there's leather and stuff like that. And I was like, where did you take us? Because we're kind of in an alleyway right now. And then we end up going inside, and the performer was painted from head to toe like a tiger. And it was one of those things where they pierced her back and she was swinging from the ceiling.
No.
Yeah, but it wasn't just one, it was a bunch. You know what I mean? So I think it's supposed to be like that. And I was like, we're not dressed for this. And I definitely, like, it was one of those things where I went, we can't stay here. We got to go. We got to leave. This is too weird for me. Oh. But yeah, after you live in San Francisco for a while, that becomes pretty par for the course. Does that make you a little too squeamish? Was that story a little too nuts?
Yeah, that like meat hooks in the body thing.
Yeah. Oh, especially the swinging.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy to me.
Got it, man. I never. Yeah. Ooh, it always kind of like just weirded me out a little bit. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Not for
me. I couldn't stay at that party. I was like, all right, this is too much, man. Yeah. And the other thing is, okay, so here's maybe the takeaway from this story. Do you think that you have to front load that information? If you're going with a friend to a party and you know it's like a bondage party where there's going to be naked people that are pierced and swinging from the ceilings, do you tell them that, or do you just let them find out when you get there?
I think it depends on the friend. And let me clarify by this. If the friend if they're just like a chill dude or whatever, then absolutely, tell them up front. Sure. But if they are like a hardcore, like church every Sunday Christian that will like preach to you, you do not tell them.
Don't.
You just let them show up.
You just find out the hard way.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And see how long they last.
Oh my god. Well, if it's anything like my experience, it was not long at all. I booked out pretty quick.
I know this guy, and he's like a very intelligent. He owns his own biotech company, right? He's like a big wig in science, but he's also a bit of a kooky guy. Because you remember the not the foundry. What was it called? The fort. It was like a place in San Francisco that is owned by Kink.com.
Oh, sure.
I forgot the name of the place.
I know it's their office, but it looks like a castle. I mean, it looks like a dungeon, basically.
Yeah,
But
it used to be an old fort, and they just turned it into a
Is that true?
yeah, they bought it out. But you can do tours through there, apparently. Go to all the different locations where they have like their vats of like lube. and like all the like, you know, and some people are still filming scenes in the background. So yeah, one of his, and so he does that. He takes people who visit him who are extremely like hardcore religious.
You gotta tell people that before they go in and see people filming pornography.
He goes like, "Hey, let's go check out this fort. It's supposed to be really cool," and doesn't tell them what goes on inside.
So do they lose their mind? What happens?
Oh yeah, they lose their shit and just get so pissed at him.
Oh my god. Yeah, where are you taking us? It's a dungeon. I told you it was a dungeon. Oh, what I thought. Yeah, that would be weird. That feels like you should probably tell somebody. Although it does feel like a funny joke. Like if you showed up somewhere and you're like, "What's going on here?" All right.
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they're just
and also if you like them or not.
That's true. Yeah. Do you like them or not? Oh my god. No.
Would you tell Matt?
Oh, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
That's my point. Because his reaction would be so golden.
Yeah. I could see him being pissed about it, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see him being pissed about it. But then again, he might be pissed, and it also might be where he takes a really good joke, where he's just like, what are we looking at?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good question. Probably. Maybe as we were walking in, by the way, they're shooting porn in here, and then just keep walking through the door. And he's like, "What? Where are we?"
He doesn't have a choice. He's like, "Oh no, I'm already here."
Well, we're here now. Yeah. Would you?
Matt? No, absolutely not. I just have him show up.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. What are martial farts?
Okay, so this is a topic that's I've been very curious to know about with you. So I think it's called the rite of passage in martial arts. When practicing martial arts, you without controlling, you just accidentally let out a fart. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, of course. I think any athlete that's happened to. If you're running or jumping or anything, and it's of course.
Yeah, so this happened to me twice, and
total?
Both of them, yeah, total. Oh. And oddly enough, both of them happened in jiu-jitsu, which is probably the worst martial art for it to happen to.
Well, that I feel like it would happen more often because you're squeezing your midsection. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you got to keep it tight, but two, people are putting you in those holds and stuff, so it's like you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, so the reason to bring it up, because I remember it happening twice in Taekwondo. Not to me, but I witnessed it happen. One was actually our instructor. It happened to, but he played it off like totally cool. He had the pad. You just slapped the pad, just like, all right, let's go. So it was like no time to process what happened. The second time it happened to a man we both know who likes power yoga. We weren't even doing anything. We were just in line and Kwon Jin was giving his speech or whatever, and it just like came out. And I remember because at this point I'd ranked up, so I was on top of the class. And I remember I kind of like looked over, like what's happening over here?
Yeah.
And
Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I was like, am I the only one? I was like, the dove is in my head? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But my personal experience, these are like, so the first time it happened, which is probably the most traumatizing, I think.
Oh my God. Okay.
So we were practicing the triangle joke, right? And actually had to get out of it. So now you know why this is really bad.
No.
So my legs are wrapped around this guy's head.
So for anybody listening, a triangle choke is basically when you put one leg on either side of somebody's head and you use your arm as like tension to choke them out. So
yeah, so you basically squeeze them with your legs. So
what happened? Oh no.
So the defense for it, one of the ways to defend it, is you kind of take the person and like fold them up like an accordion, and then like swing your head out and around, right? But the guy I was training with, he was not the best martial artist in the world, and so he wouldn't get it in one go, like the fold, twist, and out. He couldn't get the fold right, so he kept like compressing me over and over again, and so he kept basically. And I'm fairly flexible, so like it was almost like my knees were going right into my head, right,
sure.
and compressing my stomach over and over and over again. And I knew it was happening. I was like, please, man, just get the move right.
Yeah.
Like,
hurry up.
For both our sake.
Yeah.
For both our sake, just get the move right.
This is a good, yeah.
So I'm over here like an accordion, just getting compressed. I'm like, please just stop. And I remember as a tear slowly trickled down my eye. I was trying so hard. It just let out. And like, I remember because after I did that, I was so defeated that I just like turned over to my side, just went fetal.
Yeah.
I was so
Don't
sad.
look at me. Don't look at me now.
But so here's the thing: is he was like grunting so hard trying to like do the move. I don't think he noticed. And like
That's an ideal situation right there.
yes, it was ideal, but either that he just didn't react or something. And to this day, I still think about this. I still
How long ago was it?
This was pre-pandemic. This was years ago.
It's just been in your head for all this long.
Yeah. So this is like my confessional right now. As I
Okay.
still think about, does he actually know what happened that day? Or is this something that's just haunting me and only me?
I'm sure he didn't care.
Oh, I think if somebody farted in my face, I think I would care a little bit.
That's fair. That's fair that you say that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe it was a passing fancy kind of thing, you know, like maybe because not everybody remembers the, power yoga guy like you do.
Yeah.
Or it might be just like they heard it and they were like, whatever, and then immediately it's gone. I don't know. I feel like that because I don't remember stuff like that. Unless it's super noticeable and it's like embarrassing.
You're a better
Then it's
man
like,
than
ooh,
I.
that's embarrassing. I remember that. Yeah. But okay. It still bothers you. Wow, that's okay.
Yeah, it
So all
still
these years
bothers me
later,
to this
it's
day.
funny when you hang on to something like that. It's like I've actually heard this about when people go through AA, and they get to the step where it's like they have to make the apologies and stuff. And a lot of times they'll make apologies to people, and then the person on the other end of the apology is like, oh, I don't even remember that. It doesn't matter at all.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like they just run it so many times in their head that it's just like,
Yeah.
oh my God. They like worst case scenario type thing, and it's like, oh yeah, it's actually not that big of a deal.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Right, exactly. So, yeah, probably, I'm guessing that person could give a shit.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about UFC.
All right. Yeah. Some big stuff.
I was wondering this because you have a lot of these people, and here's the thing. Here's my theory. It's not really a theory. It's just something that happens in UFC, but And if you have two people that are the same weight and they're both really well-trained fighters, really anything can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why you get a lot of upsets in a sport like UFC, because there's really not a lot of protections. Really, you know what I mean? Like, in boxing, there's, you have the big padded gloves, so it's not going to be as hard of hitting. You know what I mean? But even then, there are upsets and knockouts and stuff like that. But in UFC, it feels like one punch could change the direction of an entire fight. And I feel like, some of these things, like, for example, there's this fighter, Kamaru Usman, who was on his way to having the most title defenses in history, and he gets knocked out by this guy, Leon Edwards. And it's like, all of a sudden, his reign is now over. He was like the guy, went through the whole league twice. There were these big competitors that he went up against. None of them could stand up with him at all. And he was like dominating all these fights. All of a sudden, he gets knocked out. And then the next fight gets knocked out again. Boom, he loses twice. So now it's just his reign is over. It's funny to think that you have these people that are on top of the fight game, on top of the world, and then all of a sudden they're just out.
Yeah, it is interesting, actually, now that you mention it, because it happens in UFC. It happens quite a lot, right? Because like in boxing, the champs kind of stay the champs for forever,
right?
Until they retire, right? For the most part.
I feel like that's true in a lot of other sports, though. If you think about like basketball too, like the people that shoot the best, because it's like a longer game. And it's like there are protections against these people. But, with a sport like UFC, like mixed martial arts, where you could get hit and all of a sudden lights out, it's literally 1 second and the whole fight is over. Yeah, anything can happen.
I think because there's there's so many different ways a fight can go. There's so many different styles.
Yeah.
That people learn how people fight. And they kind of, they study it, right? And then they try and capitalize on the hole, or they try and find the holes in someone's game. And everyone has some hole in their game that you can capitalize on. It's not going to be easy against like top fighters, but there is something in their game that's not perfect. Right?
Yeah. No, totally. And I mean, we just saw that happen with Valentina Shevchenko. She was the champion. She went through the whole league a couple of times. She was just the most dominant fighter. And then all of a sudden, she lost her last fight just because she threw some half-assed back kick that the person just jumped on her back and choked her out. It was like, oh, she missed. But that was the reason, is she missed this kick. And all of a sudden, now she lost her belt because she literally just in 1 second, the fight was over. Yeah. So yeah, it's oh man, yeah, it's exciting. That's why I think it's so cool. But another thing that does happen with this is all of a sudden you're rotating names, and so there's these cards that you'll see on UFC, and it's nobody I've ever heard of, because all of them are fighters that have won fights, but I just haven't heard of them yet. They're going to be champs at some point, but yeah, the turnover in that sport is so fast. You have to really keep track of that stuff.
Yeah. Like, actually, we were just talking about the holes in someone's game. That's kind of what just happened with Adesanya, right? Because he couldn't beat Pereira for the longest time,
right?
Until he studied and studied and studied how he fights, that he found the hole in his game.
Sort of. He was losing that fight, and if you actually watch the knockout, Pereira hits him 3 times, punches him in the face 3 times, and it almost looks like Adesanya's going down when he hits him with this right hook that just buckles his legs. Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess, that is part of the game, is like part of the skill or, talent about it, is being able to take all those big, heavy shots and then, keep your cool on it.
I'm about to break down the super fight analysis right now.
Here we go.
But Pereira he's always been really hard to hit.
Yeah.
So, but he would always drop his hands a lot to protect himself, actually, because he's creating distance. So someone would throw in, like, anytime Adesanya would throw in a punch, he would create this huge amount of distance that anything he would do is just be like a glancing blow to him. And so when he got Izzy on the corner or on the cage, he was doing this like he was throwing all these hits at him, but he was lowering his hands to throw all the hits.
Oh, left himself open, huh?
Izzy just shelled up, and he saw when he went down to go low, he was faster, and he didn't hit him hard the first time. He just popped his chin up, so then he could hit him hard.
Gotcha. Yeah, he went down pretty quick.
Yeah, so that's what he was waiting for. He was just waiting because he couldn't get him close, right? Him and Izzy actually kind of they're so good fighting each other because they have very similar styles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so what Izzy was doing throughout the fight is he was waiting. He was countering the whole time. He was countering every time he would hit him.
That's your style of fighting. It always pissed me off to no end because I always come at you real aggressive. Because I'm a big guy. I'm like, it's just easier for me to be the bull in the china shop. So whenever we would square off, I would go right at you. You would do some like little dance move and then swing a kick around at me. I'm like, that feels unfair.
But yeah, man, that's why I love the style, man. Because Pereira would throw something, and as he was like getting his balance back, getting back into position, that's when Izzy would throw a punch. Every time. He would throw it, and as he's coming back, that's you. Boom, boom, 1-2.
I like it. And now he's got his belt back, so and it felt like I think I heard before this fight that Pereira said that it didn't matter, like he was done with this sport anyway. I think he said he didn't really even want to have a number 2 fight. This could be speculation here, but he was like, I beat him in Muay Thai and I was the champ somewhere else. And then I came here and I beat him. It's like, I don't really have anything else to prove. I did it already, and now he's like, well, you're contractually obligated. If you take the championship belt, you do have to defend it at least once. Yeah. Well, I guess you don't have to. It's not the law, but that's just the way that they were like, all right, here's a lot of money. Go ahead and do it. So, yeah, he did the other fight. But I don't know that we're going to see him. Maybe we see him again. I'd love to. He's a good fighter, but I did feel like he felt like he was already done.
Yeah. No, I see that.
Yeah.
But, that'll be interesting going forward, seeing what happens.
Yeah. We got a lot of big fighters that are back now. You know what I mean? Like Adesanya lost, and now he's back on top. He's the champ. We did lose Francis, which I don't like. He wanted to get. I think if you're somebody who is a big draw like him, Francis Ngannou, who just everybody knows that name. If you watch the sport at all, he's like the biggest badass on the planet. You know what I mean? Like the guy looks like a mountain, and he's fighting people, knocking him out, and then you got to pay that guy. So. I am on the fence of, these fighters they should be getting the hazard pay that they want.
This one blew my mind, but I didn't know for the longest time that UFC fighters don't get insurance from the UFC.
Oh, really? That can't be true. Don't they have to be insured by the Nevada Gaming Commission?
They have to buy their own insurance.
Oh.
Which I'm like, oh. I think that was like part of the reason that they let Ngannou go. Because he was kind of standing up to Dana White and was like, no, I want insurance. Like, put insurance on it in the contract. He was like, nah.
Insurance as in health insurance?
Yeah.
Really? I would assume that, they would either pay for that or just have doctors on standby.
I'm sure they have them on standby, but they're not, like, covered.
Oh.
I mean, they have to get their own coverage.
Oh. I guess I just assumed that was the case because... almost without exception, if there is a good fight, they're bloody and walking out of there with broken bones and stuff like that, and you see them at the hospital afterwards. But no, they just go. They're just like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Although in some of those occasions, they're fighting in other countries. I imagine. Don't you think Dubai has like good health insurance? I don't know if that's true or not.
I have no idea.
On Fight Island in Dubai. They just have a hospital there. It's like, don't worry, you can go here.
Yeah, that'd be nice, right? You just get your own personal doctors.
Yeah. Do you think that you can like somebody if they've done like fucked up things? And I ask this because this comes up in like creative stuff a lot, but so if somebody is like a terrible person, can you like the thing that they've made? And the segue between this is, obviously John Jones is now back and he's the heavyweight champ. Heavyweight champ. And it's like, but he's got somewhat, he was domestic violence and drugs and driving under the influence and stuff like that. And, I know there are some people where it's like, it doesn't matter what they've done. In the sense of like what art they've created, but it does feel like, because of some of the things they've done in their regular life, it doesn't matter. Everybody hates them. They're not going to watch those things anymore. Like what's the director's name? I don't know. He was like a pedophile though.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Roman Polanski?
Roman Polanski was one of them. Yeah, for sure. Woody Allen was the other one. Yeah. But it's like it's like you can't. Is there a like? Can you differentiate those things? Is what I mean.
That's
Can
hard,
you like enjoy a Woody Allen movie knowing that he's a shithead?
Yeah, so I'm actually having a little bit of trouble with this myself because of Kanye West.
Right.
You know, and like I'm just like, oh, dude, but Graduation was such a good album.
I know.
You know, so I'm just like, oh, how do I? Because yeah, some people say you got to separate the artist from the art. That's tough. That is
Right.
really tough. Right.
I know.
Like, so,
you know, like Walt Disney, for example, was like a Nazi sympathizer. So it's like,
Was he?
you know, at least, yeah.
don't break my
yeah.
childhood.
I
break it.
will try. I will do my utmost not to. But he was. But it's like nobody. We still got statues of that guy in Disneyland, and people go there every single day. So it does feel like there is an accepted amount of we can forgive somebody.
Balance,
you know,
right? This
Yeah.
much good and maybe that much bad. It balances.
I heard in an interview a while back. It was Stephen Fry. If you know who that is, he's a British actor. He's been in if you saw him, he's been in everything. But he's one of those guys where he was talking about there's this composer that he likes, this old German composer who was a Nazi, and he's like he was like a howling asshole in real life, but when he listens to that music, he goes somewhere else. So he goes, there has to be that differentiation between those things because it could mean something completely different to you than it does where the person came from, where the person, you know, whatever they wrote it about.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that has to be true for Kanye West too. Honestly, I think I've got there. You know, his music pops up on my playlist every so often. You know, it's like I haven't deleted him from my iPad pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't deleted him, but I think I do skip his songs a little bit more than I used to.
Okay. Is
all
that
the
true? It comes up and you're like, can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
sorry.
Yeah, I just hear his voice and I can just hear him talking, you know? Because he raps similar to how he talks. And so
Yeah.
I just like hear him talking about all the stuff is Jew hate, and I'm just like, oh, this is
I
tough.
know. It's like, gee,
I'm sorry.
walks.
I'm
like
sorry.
you don't believe that anymore.
Like, I'm sorry, Yeezy. Next.
Next. Yeah. That's good. What's the worst beating you've ever received in martial arts? Did you get your ass kicked recently? Why are you asking me this?
I did. I am.
You got your ass kicked? What happened? What happened?
So, okay. Yeah, we've fought in a lot of martial arts stuff.
Yeah.
Originally, the worst beating I've ever received in martial arts has been in jiu-jitsu, right?
Okay.
Go up against a black belt, and like in 30 seconds, I've beaten.
You're just twisted up into a pretzel and you can't walk for 2 days. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting choked out in 30 seconds. That was before the worst beating I've ever received. Until recently.
No.
So it's been a story. So I began taking naginata classes, and a naginata is basically a Japanese pole arm, right? So a stick with a big blade on the end of it.
Okay.
And there's two classes around my area. There's the beginner class, and then there is the competitive class. So
You got your
you have
ass
to
whipped with a big stick with a knife on it?
Yeah, well, in the competitive class, I mean, in all classes actually, it's a bamboo blade.
Okay.
So you have to take the beginners class and then get approved to join the competitive class, right? So I just started this, so I'm in the beginner class, like swinging my stick, and the instructor for the beginner class was gone this past weekend. So they said, hey, anyone in the beginner class, like you can come to the competitive class if you want to, hang out. We're new. We're just looking for more people. So just come on by. Also, I was like the only one out of the group. I was like, sure, I'll go.
That sounds
Now-
like a good plan.
Yeah. So a couple things to keep in mind here. So the instructor of the basics class is the second best Naginata fighter in the U.S. the competitive class, the instructor is the top fighter in the US. Granted, so I had this idea in my head, which has now quickly left, that there's not many people in the US that do this. There's about 250 or so. So I'm like, I can quickly raise the ranks and become like top 10 fighter in the US. Right? There's not that much. I just got to beat like 2 people. Right?
Sure.
So I go to the competitive class, and
That's
the instructor,
mindset is when you know you're about to get your ass whooped. That's how you know you're about to get humbled. Is you're like, I'm gonna be the best today, and I'm gonna take on the number 1 person and stick ass whooping in the country.
So the number 1 fighter, Sayo Oshima is his name. If you want to look him up. So we're doing a class. He's teaching all these drills. And at this point, as we're doing all these drills and how quickly he's moving and doing them, that I'm beginning to realize, like, oh, okay, this is going to take a very long time to get good at, right? I'm not just like 1, 2, 3 anymore. It's like he's busting out combos. And I'm like, I don't know how to do combos in this.
He's hitting you with the bottom of the stick. It's like forward, back, forward, over the top.
So, you know, he puts on his armor and is like, all right. It was towards the end of class. All right, let's start sparring. I was like, excuse me, sir, I don't have any armor. Like, that's okay.
Don't.
But so he goes through.
Reason number 2, you know you're about to get your ass kicked. Continue.
Oh, no. Sensei Oshima is number 1.
I'm talking about you if you're not wearing the armor.
Oh yeah. Don't worry, I'll get there. Don't worry. One day, I'm coming for him. But not today, but one day. So we go out there. He's sparring with everybody. He just whoops everybody's ass, just like cleanly. Right? And I was like, oh wow, that was really cool. So I go up there. I'm gonna fight. I'm like, all right, I got this. So you're supposed to have more or less have 3 points of contact with the naginata at all times. So both your hands and then one actually up against your body. So you're supposed to keep it real close to your body. So when you swing it, you're swinging with your body, not your hands.
Okay.
So I let in just like an inch or 2 of space between my body and my hands. And within 5 seconds of the match starting, he shoved his naginata in between me and the naginata, disarmed me, and as it's flying through the air, as I'm watching my weapon fly through, thinking like, oh shit, I'm about to lose. He hits me twice, one in the shin and then one in the head, before it even hits the ground. And I was like, you know, so I'm just standing there like an idiot without a weapon in the middle of a match.
Yeah.
like real, and that's like this realization, like, oh, I have a long way to go before I can even challenge this man.
Before you're in the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
He took your stick and hit you twice, huh?
Yeah, before it even hit the ground. It's the worst ass whooping I've ever received.
Oh, my God. Okay. I'll tell you, yeah. I don't have a story where, well, I mean, I've only ever been, and I don't think it was like a proper knockout, but the only time, and this is, remember, we both had sparring swords, and they were made of rubber, like hard rubber, too. So it was like in the inside of the sword was made of wood, and then there was like a rubber coating. So it still hurt when you hit, but it's not going to cut your arm off, you know? So you and I were training with these swords, and I remember we put on... I remember after this occasion, we both were like, we should probably put some armor on when we do this fighting again. But I remember we did this, and you had like the two-handed katana. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And I had like the two one-handed wakizashis, and I'm like, all right, let's just go this way. And I remember I blocked your shot, and then I jabbed you in the ribs with it. And as soon as I hit you, I knew it was way too hard. I was like, oh, I fucked up. I made a mistake. But you spun around and you like fell into the ground. You were like going down after this, but you spun around and kept your sword out and you whipped it across the side of my face. And I remember looking up from the ground going, I don't remember how I got on the ground. This is unfortunate. That was a bummer. And then, yeah, I remember you leaning up going, I think we should stop. And I was like, I don't think I remember my name right now. But yeah, that sounds like a plan. That was one. That was the only time. So I've never been knocked out, but I think that was the closest that I've ever gotten, was getting whipped in the sword with a sparring sword, or whipped in the face with a sparring sword.
We made some good decisions that day.
That was yeah. And then after that, we're like, we should put some armor on. We should put on some chest guards, maybe a head guard, and that way that kind of shit doesn't happen anymore. But the worst. Okay, so the worst beating I ever took was in a test. I think it was my black belt test. And the reason is because let's just continue calling him Power Yoga. So what happened is in these tests, you're supposed to bring your pads so that you have your hands and shin guards and chest guard and all that. And I brought all of mine, and he did not. So I am doing this, and they go, okay, well, you go soft. You go, let's do like light sparring when you're hitting him.
I remember. I kind of remember this. I was there for that, wasn't I?
You were there. Yeah, of course. You and I tested at the same time all the time. But I remember I was in and then they were like, but he can hit you. Just don't hit him very hard. And I was like, well, that doesn't make this fair at all. So they're like, go. And then so he's hitting me full strength. And I'm like doing light punches. But the thing is when you hit somebody, it stops them. You know what I mean? It stops them from coming. But he knew that I wasn't going to hit him very hard. So he just came through. Now, keep in mind, I'm a big dude. This guy must have had 50 pounds on me. And at the time, maybe it was even more than that, 80 pounds or something. Like, he was a big guy. And it's not like he was throwing kicks. He was doing, like, football shoulder checks. And so I'm, like, getting hit with all of these. And the teachers, the refs are going, you can't score points that way. You have to kick him. And so I'm just getting punches and shoulders and all that. And I'm trying to, like, do techniques where I'm hitting him. But he's not addressing that any of them are hitting because I'm not hitting him hard. And so I was just getting my ass kicked for 2 straight rounds because I couldn't hit this guy back. So it was literally somebody that was just beating my ass while I was like unable to hit him back because of the rules. So that was the worst beating I ever took, which I feel like is unfair.
Yeah, no, that's kind of messed up. That's like a bit of a dick move on the other end.
You'd think as the ref you would have stopped that. It's like, okay, this has to because I was getting like head level kicks. I was hitting him. I could have hit him pretty hard, but I didn't want to be a dick about it. So yeah, I was just standing there basically getting my ass kicked without any defense.
Yeah, I think it was it's either my first or second degree. I don't remember, but I had to fight everyone in the class, and there was a lot of people there. So
the gauntlet.
Yeah, so it wasn't just our school, but it was like us, and then also all of the people from SF State were there as well. So there was a lot. It was like, I think I went 10 rounds. I remember and he went in belt order, thankfully. So it was like it started with the best, and it got like worse as we progressed.
Good. I remember that can sometimes bite you in the ass, though. Those white belts are so uncontrolled where they don't understand. It's almost like button mashing when you're playing video games with somebody, and they're just like, I'm going to hit you, and you come out with bruises and stuff.
Yeah, so I think we got to it was like the round 7 or something, and this green belt came out. I was so tired at this point, right? And he was like trying to do like jump kicks and spinning stuff to me. I remember I just hit him with this like side kick as he was trying to jump, and I hit him with a side kick I think I hit him like in the liver or something, because he just crumpled and just went to the ground and like didn't get back up for a minute. And so Crunchity just stopped it. He's like, all right, we're done with the gauntlet.
I may have messed up. I was
like, oh, David's too tired. He's not controlling his kicks anymore.
Mistakes were made. That's when you know you're tired, is you just hit too hard and you're like, shit, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm tired, man. Don't try and knock me out right now.
You can't beat up children. Although I hear, based off of the stories that you tell from USF, where David is the head coach for everybody listening, that his students don't like sparring him because he whoops their ass all the time.
Well, I mean, yes, but no, hold on.
You don't beat up your students?
Oh, I do. But the thing is that they're gonna fight people who are gonna be better than me, probably, maybe. You know, because I got a pretty good team this year, and we're going to like a lot of tournaments, even international tournaments now.
Okay.
And I'm like, you're gonna be fighting some high level people. Like, I should be no problem against you, right? I'm like 10 years older than you, more than that now. More than 10 years older than you guys. Like, I'm like thinking about like, oh, my hip.
Yeah. I'm sore.
Yeah. I'm like, I got wear and tear on these joints. You guys are still fresh.
Yeah.
Eat this kick.
Once you've been an athlete for a really long time, you do get injuries. Have you and you have to play with these things, right? And that's like, I've played sports my whole life, and it's like, when you're in basketball, you roll your ankles a ton, or not a ton, but it happens, and then you have to play on this ankle, and it's like you just got to power through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember my brother in high school. He was a receiver, so he catches a football, and two guys tackle him, and one helmet on one side of the arm, another helmet on the other side of the arm, and he's like, "Ooh, that hurts," and so he finishes the rest of the football game, and he goes, I think something's wrong. And so they go, and his forearm was completely shattered. So both bones broken, and he finished the football game with a broken arm. So it's like, when you're an athlete, a lot of times you have so much adrenaline going, it'll just, you can't feel the pain anymore. But you do have to play a bit hurt. You're not going to be 100%. As soon as the game starts, you're not going to be. So you have to, continue to play that way. And martial arts is one of those where you're going to expect some bumps and bruises.
Yeah, I feel like I've been injured for like the longest time, and as soon as one thing heals, another thing gets injured. Like I just constantly...
You are getting old. Yeah,
I guess so. And like I finally had this huge cut on my hand, and like finally it started to heal up, and it's a crappy position, right? Because it's right on the joint, so it keeps reopening. So that finally healed up, and then yesterday in Muay Thai, I kicked somebody's elbow. Right on and I'm like, man, this big welt now. I was like, as soon as I heal up, I get another injury.
I feel like your foot has been injured for the better part of 10 years. It just feels like anytime I talk to you, you're like, my foot hurt again.
I'm trying to get rich so I can get like stem cells and just inject them into all my joints and just become fresh and brand new again. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The joints of a teenager when I'm 50.
You could go the opposite way and just shun all of the things. You could be Amish. Just shun all of the things that are going to hurt your joints.
What? Where's the fun in that?
I don't know. You get to fix people's roofs. That'd be great. It's a throwback to our last podcast.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if carpentry is the career path I want to go.
Okay.
Turn it all away, Tom.
You could be the Amish guy that just has to go and get the horses from jobs and then take them back to the Amish country.
I'm making butter from now on. It's my new career path.
You're just going to churn butter. It'll be great. Yeah, the injuries are the worst.
Do you have a protocol that you go through to like heal your injuries or wounds?
No, I generally will just, it's sort of like whenever it hurts. Yeah, exactly. Just I'm Irish. We use whiskey, bro. So, but no, it's I don't know. Like I don't know. I feel like I've been playing sports and I've been injured for so long that when something hurts, but I'm expecting it to hurt, it doesn't really bother me that much. So it's sort of like you put as much pressure on it as you can so that it's not intolerable. But then you continue, but that'll rehab it. You know what I mean? So if, the pain is what's telling your body that's too much. That's too much. So it's sort of like, if I hurt my ankle or my knee or something like that, it's like, I'll walk on it, but just enough. And then all of a sudden it'll get stronger and then I'll walk on it more and then more and more and more. Sure. So there's not necessarily a protocol, but I don't take medicine. If I am injured, it's not like I take pain pills or anything like that. It's just, if it does hurt enough that I need to take the edge off, maybe I'll take one. But I don't, no protocols, just usually ice.
Yeah. This is probably like the worst advice ever, but I only take medication when I'm injured and it's hurting and I'm going to go back and do another sport or train some more. I'm like, pain meds, let's go.
Don't do that. That's like the guys that are in the Super Bowl when they hurt their knee and they go get that shot in the back so that they can finish the game. But then, that tears up your knee worse. So all of a sudden you've played in this game, but then you've now ended the rest of your career. That's what you're telling me that your protocol is right now.
No, hold up. I mean, that's I usually take some time off.
Okay.
I try not to, but like I have like this whole, like I try and take an like Epsom salt bath. Like I have all these creams now, man. Like I just smell like icy hot all day. Just all day, just icy hot at all. And rice, right? Rest, ice, compress, elevate. Try and do that.
There you go.
But, just a lot of icy hot.
Elevate, yeah. But then we're gonna, as soon as you're done with the elevation, it's back onto the mat. Time to go fight some more people. So are you gonna go and train and kick your students with that welt on your foot?
Maybe. No, not till Monday. So I'm gonna give it a couple days. Yeah, give it a couple days.
Gotcha.
And the only reason is because we're going to a tournament tomorrow.
This weekend, yeah. Tell me about that. Where are you going?
Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. I don't really know what's out there, so besides boulders, but it's like a national.
I don't think there's actual boulders out there.
Is there not? Oh my god, I'm so disappointed.
I think it's just, I don't know. Let's ask the Google box. Are there boulders in Boulder, Colorado?
I thought that's what it was famous named after.
Yeah. What kind of rocks are in Boulder, Colorado? That's the number one response. It's sandstone. So there you go. I don't think there's boulders, buddy. I think it's just flatland.
Oh. It's even more disappointing now. Really? Because I thought there was like skiing and stuff. I don't know why I thought that, but I did.
Colorado, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, clearly I know a lot about Colorado.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to Colorado for this tournament with all of your students who should do well. Are you expecting gold medals? Is that what I'm to understand?
Yes and no, right? I'm a little nervous because this is like the tournament, right? This is National Collegiate Taekwondo tournament. Like, so the entire U.S. is going to be here. Every college in the U.S. is going to be at this tournament. So I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of people, a lot of good people to compete against. That being said, my students are damn good, dude. Like, damn good.
I want to go to one of these with you, man. One of these days, invite me to the next one.
Yeah, well, the next one might be in China.
I'll be the towel boy.
But because they're so good, I'm like, I think they could actually take it. They might be able to take it.
Okay.
But they're also fighting the entire U.S., so I'm like,
Sure.
So we'll see.
David's students against the United States.
Yeah, they're really good. I can see them getting medals. Honestly.
Okay. I like it. We'll report back next week when we record the next podcast. We're going to hear how your students did. This is going to be good. Yeah. All right, let's talk about how business is going.
For sure. So things are progressing, man. I got
what happened? Swoley Bear's back on track?
It is. So last we talked, I think there was a problem with the melting point. I fixed it. I done fixed the melting point. So I raised that bad boy up by coating it in a nice little edible wax that has like a high melting point.
Okay.
So I just got the samples back from the manufacturer, and before you've tried it, right? They're very soft before. They're almost like kind of gelatinous, if you will.
They felt like gummy bears, yeah.
Yeah. Well, these ones feel like what are they called? Gummy supplements, right? So these they have a little firmer in a good way though, because that's what I was like a little worried about. Like, maybe these don't feel like protein gummies. These feel like protein gummies in a good way. Very good.
Okay, good.
I think they are phenomenal now. And so I'm really excited because these are technically, I have them like right here, a little package.
Oh, nice. Oh, you got the samples? There you go.
Yeah. And so these are technically my final samples. Like each one of these is 3 grams of protein a gummy.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we're looking at 12 grams of protein just like right there. So now what I'm doing is I'm working with getting a mold because I want them to not be a square but a buff gummy.
Right, of course.
Because that's kind of on brand.
You can't have a company called Swoley Bears if it's just going to be squares.
Yeah, Swoley Squares. Someone even said that to me. Like, why don't you call it Swoley Squares? I'm like,
how about you get off your lazy ass and make it a bear? Yeah.
yeah. It's like, I went through a lot of trouble to get this bear. All right, I'm getting the bear.
Right. We got the bear.
Yeah, so I'm getting the bear, and then, oh, you touched your eye, didn't you?
I did. I did. Just jabbed it. No. Oh, we're okay. We're okay. We're good.
All right, we're back. Did we need to get you that eye patch?
Well, I gotta get an eye patch, but I keep poking it.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah. It's okay. It's like one of those, those NBA screens where somebody has like the big plastic thing over their face. Yeah. It's like, what happened to that guy? Yeah, he probably broke a bone in his face. Yeah.
It's gonna be the new Tom. It's like, hey, Lauren, want to go to bed?
Oh, hey.
My mask.
I'm gonna be honest. The eye patch might work.
Lauren, I'm here for your booty.
Yeah, exactly. Walk the plank.
Oh man, yeah.
There's so many. Raise the mast. Yeah. What? Yeah. There's so many good dad jokes in there. Kid number 4. No, the appointment's been set, buddy. We're on our way out from that being an option. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Well, you guys will get to see firsthand what happens. We'll record a podcast in person.
Stream.
While we're not a live stream. I didn't realize the appointment was only 10 minutes long. There's literally snip, snip out. And then, that's it. And then I got to wear a diaper for 2 days. You guys, we'll do it. We'll talk about it on the podcast sometime in July.
Absolutely recording this moment.
Yeah, it'll be a great video.
You walking out like you just rode a horse.
Exactly. I'm gonna need some help. By the way, I need you to come over because Lauren's taking the girls, because you can't have little kids around, especially when they jump on your lap all the time. It's like I was like, I can't be around little kids when that appointment happens. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Yeah. So she goes, cool. So she's taking them to Lake Tahoe from the day before the appointment till like 3 days after. So I'm just gonna be on my own. So you're coming over. Yeah. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm bringing a truck filled with ice.
Perfect. That's gonna be great. I'm just gonna get the round ice cubes for that. You don't know the big rock that you normally have with whiskey. I'm just gonna get that, break it in half, and that's just gonna be it for a couple days.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you're getting it. So I had a couple Blue Arrow jobs recently, which is funny, but the feedback that I've gotten has been hilarious. Is on these things. So I did a voiceover gig, and when I do voiceovers, when you're a voiceover artist, you have to enunciate really well, and you try to whatever character they want. So usually it's professional corporate stuff. When you do that kind of stuff, you give them what you think they're looking for. But the feedback I got on this particular voiceover was it's too fancy sounding, and he goes, I need you to slow it down, but also like slur your words. And I was like, you want me to slur my words while I'm doing a voiceover? It was the weirdest feedback I've ever gotten from a voiceover that I've had to do, where he's like, yeah, it needs to sound conversational, and you need to start slurring your words. You actually came up in this. It was a buddy of mine who did it. It was Tony, and he goes, talk about this like you talk about it with David. And I was like, I enunciate when I talk to David.
This is how I talk. This is my voice.
This is what I sound like. Oh, my God. Did I tell you about the heckle that I got the other day? This was hilarious. So I was on a webinar. This was so weird. So for anybody listening, if you're listening to a webinar, mute yourself. Just don't say things out loud if your microphone is not muted. So I start doing this webinar, and I put a lot of energy into these. This is what I do for a living, right? And I'm like, hey, everybody, we're going to be talking about this today. And somebody that wasn't muted goes, you're going to talk about this today. Why don't you do more drugs? And I was like, what the I can hear you, person that I don't know. So they're like, oh shit. And I hear them say, oh shit. And then they mute themselves. And I was like, what the fuck? Why would you say that out loud? Even if you were by yourself. You don't know me. Yeah. I don't know. Who listens to somebody else live and starts heckling them on a technical webinar? Yeah, that was good. But yeah, so that's the feedback I've gotten recently in both voiceovers and webinars here.
So I have a funny story about that. Something similar.
God, here we go.
This is when I was back in the lab at Stanford, and my boss, who's like one of the biggest names in science, right? He's huge. You get his name on your paper, like it's going to the top journals. He was doing a presentation, and they wanted to like kind of get people from around the world to listen to his presentation. So they set it up on a webinar and everything. But the people who set it up didn't know how to mute everybody because they weren't the most tech savvy people in the world.
Sure.
So he's giving his presentation, right? The entire world is watching. And then you hear some guy going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And like it just got, and like my boss just stopped talking. It's like, could you please mute yourself there, sir? Then you hear the toilet flush.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god!
Now. Stop doing that.
So they literally they cut the feed because they're just like, all right, we're going live. Sorry guys, if you're not here, you can't listen. Cut.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, as a presenter, when you hear sound, it's so hard to talk through when somebody's making noise. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially if you're doing a webinar. So yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, what the hell? But yeah, it's I could tell you firsthand that stuff is super distracting, even for somebody who does that for a living.
Could you imagine just someone hears someone peeing in the background while you're giving a presentation?
I've heard all sorts of weird stuff. You know what was funny is there was one we did live. Where there was one we went to a conference and we were doing like live talks, and one of the other presenters went to the bathroom and forgot to turn his mic off.
Oh no!
And then they had to come back into the room, and we're like, "Motherfucker, you got to turn that off when you leave this room." Yeah.
Oh, as someone who does not give presentations regularly, like that's happened to me. Not the bathroom, but like just walk off with a mic and not even turn it off or recognize that I have it on.
Yeah. Have you ever shared your screen and you forgot that you were sharing your screen, so you start to type out something? Have you ever done that?
No. I've always been super careful about that because I've seen so many horror stories about people doing things.
I did that with a text message to you. I was sharing my screen and I brought up my text and I forgot that I was sharing because everybody was just talking. And I was like... And I was like, I think it was something, because it was the end of the day, and I think it was something like, hey, man, you want to play some Fortnite right now? And my boss was like, are you texting somebody? And I was like, no, like de-share screen. Yeah.
I just used a bunch of memes that I keep sending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's not work appropriate, sir.
That's exactly, because when stuff comes in, I always have it shared to this, like my main, the big screen that's in front of me, but I always share the other one. Yeah. So like notifications don't come through, but it's only when I forget and I bring up my messages and I'm like, shit, I forgot I was still sharing. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I know I'm going to be sharing my screen, I always like, all right, I got to close all windows, like restart the computer. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. All right, we're way over time. I was going to say, we're going to see you after your tournament here.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Week, man. Thank you. Stay funky fresh.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See you, man.